Thank you for staying. In our first story, former President John Dramani Mahama says Ghana was better managed under his administration compared to now under President Akufo-Addo. Now, speaking at Tumu ahead of the party's presidential and parliamentary primaries on Saturday, the NDC flag-bearer hopeful said despite flowery promises of the MPP in 2016, it had done little to fulfill the promises. Hence, the economic hardship Ghanaians were now wallowing in. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Tumu.
Democratic Congress flag-bearer hopeful John Dramani Mahama began his two-day campaign tour of the Upper West region at Tumu, capital of the South East constituency. He interacted with the 837 delegates drawn from 96 branches of the party that will be voting at the party's presidential and parliamentary primaries on Saturday. The delegates, clad in the party's paraphernalia and over 2 dozen glowing Vuvuzela happy supporters, the auditorium of the Tumu College of Education was full to the rafters. Former President John Dramani Mahama used the occasion to introduce the trio aspiring to represent the party in the 2024 polls, urging them and their supporters to put the primaries behind them once a victor emerges in the Saturday polls, and then went in for the jugular of the new Patriotic Party and President Akufo-Addo.
In 2016, all the lies they told, all the propaganda they told, Ghanaians can now see the truth. All the preaching, Yatisikasu, Ekomdeye, and all that, Ghana, Yemo, and all those things. I mean, we are now even more mobile today than in 2016. Any work anybody does, you hardly get any profit. I can beat my chest and say that in 2016, when MDC was in power, our lives were far better than they are today. So I can assure you, all the predictions, all the opinion polls show that NDC is coming back into office.
He reiterated earlier plans made on the need to complete all projects started by the NDC and now being abandoned by the MPP.
All over, you go to our schools, you go to all our districts, and there are projects that government started that have been abandoned. There are some that are ongoing, but because they are not paying the contractors are not on site. We were building a lot of roads. When they came, they asked them to stop. They asked them to go back, but they are not paying the contractors, so the work is not going fast. So what we'll do is we're not going to be in a hurry to start new projects. We're going to take an inventory of all the abandoned projects and ongoing projects, including their own. We're not going to just do ours. Including their own. The projects that any projects they are working on now, I don't see many of them, but whatever they are working on, together with ours that they abandoned, the E-blocks, the hospitals and all that, we're going to continue and finish them before we start any new projects.
The former president later rolled out of town and headed west to Bolu, where he also interacted with delegates of the party in the South West constituency. The South West constituency has 881 delegates drawn from 94 branches of the party. The delegates have resolved to not only give a resounding victory in Saturday's presidential primary, but will work to ensure that John Dramani Mahama is returned to power to continue with his good works as well. Leading the charge are the constituency chairman, Faisal Mahmoud, and the member of parliament, Adam Suparu.
We know, and we are aware you can do the work. You have been on the seat before. You have an unfinished project that we are waiting on you to do. And out of that, we wish and pray that you win power and come and continue with those projects.
We in Sisala West wouldn't have not even a single senior high school to boast of. We are aware of the many projects we initiated in our constituency here. And so, based on your experience, as you said yourself, it is experience and not experiment. We are going to ensure that
Former President John Dramani Mahama spoke about the implementation of the free senior high school program implemented by the government, which he said is rippling with serious challenges due to lack of consultation.
When he introduced the free SHS, I said hold a stakeholder consultation so that you can implement it properly, because there are challenges. And since then they've refused. Today the free SHS is not working properly. The children go for a few weeks and then they come back. After you have spent so much money sending your child to school, they go and spend 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and then they are back home. When NDC was in office, our children all used to go to school at the same time. And they spend 2 months, 3 months in school before they come back. Today, when they come back after 4 weeks, you have to get a teacher and pay the teacher to continue to teach them so that they don't forget what they learned in school. And this has all become a major issue.
The former president wrapped up his day campaign tour of the region by visiting Lamuse, Nandom, Laura, and West Central constituencies.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam, Tumu.
Now, the Ghana Boundary Commission and the Minister responsible for lands and natural resources are expected to appear before Parliament's Select Committee on Lands and Forestry when Parliament resumes. The invitation is for the two to provide answers on the exclusion of the Surveying and Mapping Division of the Lands Commission from the governing board of the Ghana Boundary Commission. Chairperson of the committee, Francis Menu Adabo, who disclosed this to the media in Kumasi, believes certain boundary operations meant for surveyors and the Lands Commission are being handled by unwarranted professionals. There's more in this report.
The commission was established by an act of parliament to demarcate, delimit and manage Ghana's international and internal boundaries. The 15-member governing body, chaired by the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, does not include the Surveying and Mapping Division of the Lands Commission, but the Ghana Institute of Surveyors. Speaking at the National Retreat of Surveyors, Chairperson of Parliament's Select Committee on Lands and Forestry, Francis Menu Adabo, observed the decision is inappropriate and insists on the inclusion of surveyors.
It was there, but they were working under the Survey and Mapping Division years back. The Director of Survey had complete control of the mapping they do at the boundary, because you don't compromise 1 inch at the boundary. 1 inch of land can bring confusion at the boundary. So whatever they do as a commission, I think somebody from the Survey and Mapping Division should be part. If they say somebody from the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, we have 3 different divisions there. There can be a valuer, there can be architect, and there can be a land surveyor. But that aspect should be land surveyor. You should go in there, see to the practices, make sure all the accuracies and everything is taken care of before they go out and do the boundary demarcation. So I will invite the Executive Secretary and then the Boundary Commission. They are all reporting to my committee. And then we bring the minister and iron out. I'm not saying what they are doing is not right. They have qualified surveyors there, but their work should be controlled by the Director of Surveys.
The 2023 National Retreat of the Surveying and Mapping Division of the Lands Commission brought together surveyors across the country to deliberate on adopting measures to digitalize the sector. The MP warned the surveyors against working with unqualified surveyors who are denting the image of the profession.
There are so many quack surveyors out there, and some of you people know them and you work with them. So many quack surveyors out there, you know them and you work with them. So how can we protect the profession? Believe me, the Survey and Mapping Division, if we fail, the Lands Commission fails. Because all the other sectors, all the other divisions use your data for their job.
Director of Survey at the Lands Commission, Na Bukari Abudulai, believes review of existing laws on mapping and surveying could smoke out quacks in the profession.
We've had a whole lot of the land disputes in all sectors of the courts, largely because wrong people go into want to do survey, they want to do registration, and they will want to sell land when they don't even own the land. They don't even know where the land is. So It is only our laws that would be able to deal with such people in such a manner that others would not be thinking of repeating same mistakes.
The insurgents of boundary disputes continue to wreak havoc in communities. Paramount Chief of Asante Achim Domiabra, Bafo Owusu Bediako, wants the institution to work in resolving land disputes.
The lack of adequate measures to deal with these issues have led to poverty, inter- and intra-tribal conflict, leading to loss of life and property, among others. Technological advancement has afforded us the opportunity to charter a new path in the practice of survey in the country. It is my earnest prayer that the outcome of this all-important meeting will lead to a great transformation in survey practice and improve efficiency and productivity in land management in the country.
The 2023 National Retreat of the Surveying and Mapping Division of the Lands Commission was held under the theme Repositioning Surveying and Mapping in the Era of Digitalization for Socio-Economic Development. The division called on the government to support them with resources as they strive to digitalize the surveying industry. For JoyNews, Emmanuel Bright-Kweku reporting.
Let's head to the Kumasi Central Market now, where traders affected by the second phase of the KTR redevelopment project are up against a government over the stalled construction. They are mobilizing to remove barricades at the project site to start trading if government fails to ensure work resumes in the next 2 months. Now, the traders are questioning the turnaround of promises before their relocation, that funds were available for the project to progress smoothly.
The second phase of the KTR redevelopment project halted in December last year. Construction firm contractor laid off over 2,000 workers who were engaged on projects awarded to the company in Kumasi. Some weeks ago, angry petty traders demonstrated against the members of parliament in the region for doing less to ensure the completion of the market facility. The traders are up again, prevailing on the government to ensure the contractors return to site.
So
if they don't come back to site, we will show this government that we are very serious. We are giving them just 2 months. If they don't come and continue the work, we will go and make sales regardless.
Pese kasra na nadu se edwa no wagya asie no ena no wagya asanteman nyina asiwo kyerese fie bia mu asanteman mu no.
We are telling Nanado that his refusal to continue this project means he's neglecting Asanteman, because this is what we also do for a living. Some of the aggrieved traders claim they have lost their capital due to the temporary loss of trading space. Times are hard for us as fathers. My children are in senior high and the university. We plead with government to begin the project as soon as possible. We leave everything to God, but we will boycott the 2024 election. Leaders of the combined Kumasi Central Market Traders Union, Emily Akofi and Joseph Owusu, say they are expecting the government to get the contractors on site in the next 2 months to avert an industrial action.
We are still expecting a completion of the project by the stipulated date. That is what that's how I'll put it. They gave us a time when they are going to complete. Our only worry is that with the break in the construction of the project, we ask ourselves if they can meet the time that they set. We want to believe that the government will meet it. Otherwise, as traders, we will have to advise ourselves.
First one, a press conference was hard way home. I could see, I could champagne for as much as this IMF scanner aba. But because you're trying to IMF, to be frank,
we doubt they can fix it before June, and if they don't, we will take action.
It is a true one, and we will take action.
For JoyNews, Nana Boachi Dankwayadom reporting.
Now, the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications has trained about 14,000 marginalized Ghanaians under its Digital Transformation Center project. The project, which will train 17,000 people across the country, seeks to bridge the sex and rural-urban digital divide by equipping the masses with ICT soft skills. There's more in this report.
The 3-year Digital Transformation Center project, which is being implemented by the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, aimed at providing soft skills for 17,000 beneficiaries. The project has already seen the training of 14 youth in Cisco-certified basic and intermediate ICT courses. The fourth cohort saw the training of 4,335 youth at the 155 GIFEC community ICT centers across the country. The Chief Executive Officer of GIFEC, Prince Ofosu Sefa, shed more light on the Digital Transformation Center project.
But it's also aimed at bridging the digital divide. So from that sense, we try to skew it into areas where we're a bit behind. In terms of, as you can see, there are a bit more women in this program. That's by design. We're trying to bridge the digital divide. And the digital divide is not one that is only geographic in terms of the difference between those who live in the urban areas and the rural areas, but it's also a digital divide from the standpoint of certain communities, such as some of our women and girls who sometimes we find don't apply or use technology as much as the male counterparts. So we try to do a few things with it. Bridge the digital divide from a sex standpoint, and then bridge the digital divide from a rural and urban standpoint.
The Home Municipal Chief Executive, Divine Borson, entreated the trainees to use the skills required for the intended purpose.
Information technology is simply finding solutions to societal problems by coming up with innovative ideas. Utilize your skill, and the sky will be your beginning point. I want to remind you of the importance of continued learning. The digital age is constantly evolving, and we must continue to adapt to keep up with the latest trends and technologies.
In our next story, the European Union's ambassador to Ghana, Irkad Razali, has stressed the need for Ghana to deepen ties with the EU towards the execution of shared developmental objectives. He says the EU is still committed to supporting Ghana despite the challenges imposed by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Pakwesi Shandov has more from a gathering of dignitaries and guests at this year's EU Day celebration.
It's the official EU's residence here in Accra, the place that has been formally designated to host this year's edition of the Europe Day. Now, the essence of this particular celebration is to, of course, amplify the EU and, more importantly, deepen the rapport between the EU and Ghana. The event today will, of course, see speeches being read by dignitaries and other prominent fellows from government, as well as representation from the European Union. The annual event seeks to celebrate the peace and unity in Europe. This year, scores of excited foreign nationals in Ghana were present in their numbers. Speaking at the function, the EU's ambassador to Ghana, Irkad Razali, stressed the need for deepened ties between Ghana and the EU, especially in the area of youth development.
Together with you, we are ready to embrace this challenge by supporting and empowering Ghanaian youth to gain skills, acquire jobs, and have bright futures before them. In quoting an eminent Ghanaian, a society that cuts off from its youth severes its lifeline, once said the late Kofi Annan. So to bring life back into our economies and democracies, both on the European and African continents, the answer lies in turning to our young generation and providing them with the right skills to thrive. And this is what we are doing.
According to him, despite the challenges imposed by the Russian-Ukraine war, the EU is still resolute in supporting Ghana.
Despite Russia's ongoing and justified aggression on Ukraine at our doorstep, I would like to underline that the EU does not look away from other major instability and from other major partners. Not €1 has been diverted from our initial commitment to Ghana. On the contrary, we are expanding, increasing our initial envelope to address new needs and new challenges. We stick by our partners like Ghana, and we stand by our commitments.
Minister of Youth and Sports Mustafa Yusuf also reiterated government's readiness to partner the EU to better the lot of young people in the country.
We are also grateful for the EU to continue support of the youth in the area of education through the provision of scholarships to Ghanaian students studying in European universities. We are hopeful that other EU projects in the pipeline aimed at empowering and developing the youth will be launched soon for the mutual benefit of EU and Ghana.
Some young participants also expressed delight and emphasized the need for young people to be supported across all walks of life.
And on that European note, we cap off the news, but stay with us. We're joined by Dr. Kwame Asante of the University of Ghana as we get into the papers. Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the news review. And it's brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. We all know they've been generous enough. They're offering us gratis prostate screening, female fertility screening as well. Where can you locate them? Here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji Estate. There's Tema Community 22. There's Techiman Hanswa and Esiama Enzima. Their call line 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Well, it's our pleasure this morning to have joining the conversation Dr. Kwame Asante. He is a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies. Doc, I didn't switch. I did a little switcheroo on you this morning. I wanted to see how you would react. Good to have you, Doc. Good to have you as always. It's a Wednesday, and you're joining us once more. Any matters, topical matters you'd like to reflect on before we get into the papers? I always do that with you, and this Wednesday will be no different. But just to let you know as well, today we're talking about a structure that just came out, that just crumbled to the ground, I should say. A church structure. Let me just give you the name, the Word and Action Church at Old Botiano. We've had about 3 such incidents in recent times. I was just sharing, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, that a few months ago, it was this year, somewhere in cantonments, I actually took pictures of a similar incident. In broad daylight, the building just came down. And per my investigations, I realized that this high-rise building, I think it must have been about 4 floors or something of the sort, had been constructed, had sprung up within about 6 months. So are standards being met? And are we doing the right things? We've had too many building collapses in this country at the cost of life and property. What is your take on that, if you have any? And then we'll get into other matters of concern in the paper. So if you have any reflections, this is the time to share them with us before we get into the papers.
Yes, I think I'm faced with 2 important ones. What you have said, and then also want to touch on this government proposal to, as it were, amend certain portions of the Constitution to allow, politicians with dual citizenship to hold certain key officers. I want to touch on that. And in the course of the conversation, I also zero in on the collapsed buildings, which recently we saw one near Medina, that area. Let me start with the government proposal, which John Mahama also has said that he will also support that call. So when you look at what is happening,
so it was the Council of States, and Parliament is going to take a look at it. There are differing opinions on the matter from both sides of Parliament, and since you're situating it from there, I might want to run this by you as well. Some have said that Section 8 of the Constitution actually doesn't apply. Allegiance, citizenship, two different things. But 94(2)A, which is specific on a member of Parliament or people holding public office, is what then we have to look at. I would like you to add as well what you think, because yesterday I put this forward. In fact, I met a minister, let me leave it that way, yesterday. And this person, and I'm saying that and not mentioning his name so that this person will not be known, basically agrees that, look, this has been weaponized both by the NDC and the MPP. But why should we deny people who are Ghanaian, whether dual citizens or not, the right to serve if need be? What proof do we have that maybe they may filter out information and all of that? And then we have the James Jachikwason situation, because while the law cannot be applied retrospectively, if this comes through, if it sees the light of day, likely he could petition and say, look, this is my situation and I want some redress. So that's the context. I wanted you to put that in.
Yeah, I will look at it from the point of view of the fact that MPs, government actors really want the law to be amended to make room for people to hold dual citizenship and at the same time occupy certain key positions, which the Constitution, as we speak now, doesn't allow that. Some of the positions that the proposal has come up with, which is going to change, is the IGP position, the CDS, the Director of Immigration, MPs, and all that. In short, just to say that if you hold any of these positions I've mentioned, and you have dual citizenship, you can occupy any of such position. Let's look at the issue of CDS. It is an office where all the security apparatus congregate to take important decisions of national interest, security decisions, right? And now here you are saying that you want to allow people with double nationality to be able to occupy that office. You see, nationality and loyalty is critical in governance because it's part of the civil service tradition where you are required to be allegiant to your state. The reason is that government want to always have what? Discipline, loyalty, and honesty in discharge of government business. So, and what is more important is also that in governance, you require, it is incumbent upon public officials to keep what secrets to ensure protection of national interests. So imagine you have these security couples, IGP, CDS, who are keeping very important security information. They handle it day in, day out, working with the president to maintain the security of the nation. And here you are, they have double allegiance. What do you expect? Let us remember that when people have double allegiance...
that is essentially the point, Doc. Pardon my interjecting once more. Allegiance and citizenship are not one and the same. I mean, you can have a Ghanaian whose allegiance is owed to another entity or another country. In fact, when it comes to allegiance, someone could openly say, I mean, with witnesses, I renounce this allegiance, and it is acceptable. Citizenship is a different matter altogether. So we cannot merge the two. We cannot necessarily say that there are so many Ghanaians. I mean, let's be realistic. A lot of our politicians, our leaders that we've had in this country, have not been, they've not shown allegiance to Ghana. They've been citizens, all right, but have they been loyal to the country? So that's the dichotomy. That's the fine line between the two.
But when you put the two together, what we want is that bottom line, we want national interests to be secured at all times. So when you have people with divided loyalty, because once you have national double allegiance, you have divided loyalty. And remember that every human being, you have your own preference. You don't want to voice it out, but within you. So when an issue borders on a state which you have allegiance to, even though you have not made it public, but you occupy an office in one of the countries, all right? How do you deal with that situation? Let us remember that security information and all the rest, the secrecy laws, they are not meant for fun. It's just to protect this, because it's not every, society information that you want to put out there for public consumption. No, it doesn't help governance. I acknowledge that transparency is important, but we are not transparent in all the things. There are things we want to keep to our chest for the benefit of maintaining society and keeping it going. So imagine you have a president who is working with, let me put in quotes, foreigners, because they are people with double nationality and double allegiance. Here you are. And they keep vital information of security nature. Can you trust that the information will not get to a country of their interest? That means that conflict of interest is here. Conflict of interest by our Constitution, Article 284, say that don't put yourself in a position that your interest supersedes that of the state. Obviously, the person will satisfy the interest by divulging information to a place that he has, the interest in. So that creates a problem. What is more is that the president is now, if you like, working with foreigners who keep vital information of the state. So when he's working with the CDS and IGP, who have double allegiance, double nationalities, to me, what it means is that he's working with foreigners, quote unquote, because at any point in time, the president may lose some of the information that he thinks that he's keeping in this country. It can get to another jurisdiction. How is he going to guarantee that? And if we want to really understand the effect of this thing, let us look at this. Why can't we make also the president position that, yes, if you hold dual citizenship, you can also be a president? Why are we running away from that? What is also interesting is that why is that when we are recruiting people in the army, we want people whose nationality belong to the state, that we don't want dual citizenship? Why? Then we should also open that floodgate so that, yes, you can join the army if you are a Togolese or an American. You can join the army. Why? There are certain basic things that we want to keep to ourselves. Right. And we require utmost allegiance. We don't want double allegiance.
Right.
And that is where the problem is.
Doc, we have to make tracks, but quickly on this point. So, again, what you suggested may not necessarily be allegiance, it may be loyalty. And that I agree may be difficult to filter, because how can you gauge someone's loyalty, especially if the person has differing interests? And in fact, maybe not loyalty, interest. The person may claim loyalty to one entity, but let's say that Ghanaian, a dual citizen, has a partner who is from the other country involved, and something must happen. This is your partner's home country, and certain things have to be done. I accept interest, because then the person's hands are tied in a way. You have to do something, yet because of your personal interest, because of your relationship with your partner, it becomes a bit difficult. I understand it. So your position then is that, and just to make this point as well, across the world, there are many countries, even in the West, that allow you to be a dual citizen and hold crucial positions. Some have said we're lagging behind in Ghana. What do you make of that? And is your final position that we should leave things as they are? Just very quickly on that.
I believe that we should leave things as they are, because if you look at even the United States and other advanced democracy, if you have dual citizenship, you will not be allowed to hold certain positions because they can't vouch for your loyalty.
But in the UK, for example, you can be a member of, their parliament and all of. I mean, as far as even if we narrow it down to lawmakers in the West, in very sophisticated, developed democracies, they allow people who have dual citizens, among others, to participate in their law-shaping process. The UK has a curious situation there as well. So even if we're going to say that, okay, if you're going to be a president, I do remember Barack Hussein Obama, some even suggesting, there was a term that Trump, coined back then, I think the Bertha something, trying to question his place of birth and all of that. I get that. But beneath the presidency or anything else, people have said, if you can appoint such people to head crucial institutions in this country, why can't they make laws like we see in other countries? That's the context.
You see, the context, people also forget about institutions that support the concept. Do we have the institutions, the rules, the regulation, the behavior that we are going to, use to govern some of these things? What do we have that? The capacity, right? It's not only because it's being practiced elsewhere, but here, do we have the capacity to be able to have such laws and apply them the way they ought to be? That is the difference. There are other jurisdictions, people will be honest. I'm not saying that there are not honest people here, but there are other jurisdictions where people will tell you that, well, I have this interest and I will declare my interest. That is the point of conflict of interest, where your interest clashes with that of what the state. You declare it and all that. Do we have people who are bold enough to do this? Because we have seen in this country where people, there's a problem, they need to resign from the office. They said, I will not resign today or tomorrow.
Right.
That, culture is not here. So that institution is not here. So we are saying that let us have what we have, maintain it, and not look at what is elsewhere where they have what institutions to support that.
All right.
And they have all the rest to it. We don't have that. And it's going to create a problem because when it comes to people's personal interests, they'll sacrifice the state. And then the state will be the loser. And I am calling, I just want those who are arguing on these lines to also look at the situation, extend the conversation to also allow anybody who have dual citizenship to allow the president, to allow him to become the president.
All right.
Or the chief justice. If we believe that it doesn't matter, let us extend it to that place and let us see. And then the army, let us recruit foreigners in there, that you have double citizenship, you can also be in there. Then we are saying that we are in full business. But do we have the capacity, the institution to support this? I dare to say that we should not go near. We'll have our fingers bent.
That's an important point you make. It got me contemplating though. I know two brothers, for example, who have served, well, one of them served in the Ghana military. The other one served in the UK military. In fact, he was sent to one of these wars. I've forgotten whether it was Afghanistan or one of those places. He still is Ghanaian. I'm not certain whether he has dual citizenship, but I do know that he remained Ghanaian and he was in the UK army. He was deployed to, I believe, Afghanistan, and I think he has dual citizenship. So on the military front, I don't know, but I don't have all the facts. So for that one,
what about the president? Let us allow people with dual citizenship to also be the president of this country.
Right.
If we believe in what we believe in.
Honestly, I have my thoughts supporting both ends, but we'll see in the best interest of our country what our lawmakers decide. Let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. We'll have to make tracks rather quickly. On page 11, workers demonstrate against Asogli Power, demand reinstatement of 3 sacked workers. So what is happening? The Ghana Mine Workers Union, supported by the Trade Union Congress, Ghana, is demanding the reinstatement of their 3 local union leaders who have been dismissed by the Sunon Asogli Power Ghana Limited for joining the union. Clad in red and black attires, members of the union yesterday protested the dismissal of their members following the expiration of the ultimatum given to the company to reinstate the workers. Numbering about 600, the members converged at the Mount Sinai Methodist Church, hoisting placards with inscriptions such as, quote, "Enough of the intimidation of workers' rights, stand up for your rights, bring back the 3 dismissed local union leaders of Sunon Asogli Power Limited." And there was also stop interfering in the unionization of workers. This situation has stoked the ire of the unions. And of course, people are free to join these unions. But quite an interesting development there by Asogli Power. And in fact, they have threatened that if action is not taken, they are going to cripple the country as far as those sectors are concerned by embarking on a strike, an industrial action. There is also on page 12, 7 injured after collapse of one-story church building at Old Botiano. I was telling you about that a bit earlier. And the victims, one in critical condition and yet to be identified, were rushed to the Botiano Polyclinic and Kolebu Teaching Hospital for treatment. The collapsed buildings bring the number to 4 in the past week in Accra and some parts of the region, and Tamale, resulting in the death of 2 persons and 3 others suffering injuries. So that is 4 in the space of just a week. And these were 7 male worshippers of the Word Action Church who were involved. I'll wrap with this story. So I've told you on the industrial front, workers' demo against Sunon Asogli, 7 injured in that one-story church building crash at Old Botiano. And again, members of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum for the 2nd consecutive day yesterday picketed at the Ministry of Finance to implore government to pay outstanding coupons on their matured bonds. The government has not been able to pay the coupons on matured bonds for the pensioner bondholders who were exempted from the domestic debt exchange program. Now, the members of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum asked to be exempted, and government granted that, but now the situation has turned out that they are not getting the returns they expected. The convener for the group, Dr. Edu Anani-Entry, said the group would not sue government to seek the payment of their money in view of the long processes and delays associated with court cases. But are we being fair to these elderly citizens? I remember there was a police officer who interacted with one of my colleagues, I think it was James Aveji, that, look, I have served this country for about 35 years, given my lifeblood to my country, and now I can't even enjoy my pension in peace. Quick thoughts.
I'll start with the pensioners' bond issue. It's very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. These are people who are paid their dues. They are on retirement, relaxing, and then putting themselves together. The little that we can do is to support them. Let us remember that this country, in other jurisdictions, we have what? Pensioners and support that they get through what? The welfare systems. Do we have that here? We don't. And even on their own, the little they've saved to take care of themselves, something that ought to be done by the state if we believe in welfareism, we are not doing. And they are doing for themselves by putting their money in the hands of government that use it to run the affairs of the state and then pay us our little cola on it. That is too difficult for government. This is a very insensitive government by all standards. And it's so careless. I don't get it. You don't govern like that. You create pain and you create disaffection. And you also cause, you create problems for what? People to be loyal to their state, to be committed to the effort of their state. I don't know if one day government will get the courage to say that, yes, everybody, come on board, come and invest in government bonds and all that. What will be the situation, right? That is not fair. It is the least we can do for people who have paid their dues. We don't do that. We rather go to other jurisdictions. They have what? Homes for the elderly, for retirees and all that. You support them because they give up their best to the society.
Right.
This government, well, I'm surprised that is going on that tangent. And somebody must get up in the party and tell those who matter in the party that, look, this direction doesn't help anybody. You are going to leave something that will be indelible in the minds of people, and it can translate into what? Votes and other things. It doesn't help the party. But
and even apart from votes, Doc, even moving away from votes, it would appear as though everything had to do with, the end, the gains. But when you do this, we built our banking sector and trust in bonds and all of that. And the fact that government is the least risky option when you're purchasing coupons and all of that. Over decades, what this means is you create that situation where people now will think twice, thrice, 4 times before wanting to commit their money even to the banking system or to bonds and all of that, which creates an economic crisis of sorts. Because then We're talking about the unbanked.
I said the vote.
Now some people would simply say, my money to the bank. No, that's a problem.
Yeah, I am saying that because I mentioned the votes in the sense that if you say you correct, people pick it, they take decision, use public opinion channels, such as demonstration, strike, and all that, and you won't listen. The last option is what? Voting, where you vote them out, and then they learn sense from this. So we are saying that listen to them, do the best for them, especially when they're giving their money to. They have given their money to you to run the affairs of the state. Their, share of that contract, you must give to them. And why do you want to force them to do things that ordinarily they are not supposed to do? It's unfair, and government must be sensitive to this. I will move on to the collapsed buildings that we are having in recent times. It's nothing but what? Institutions are down. The laws, the regulations, and all that, they don't exist. They only exist on paper. Why? Because if you are supposed to obtain permit before you do something, and as soon as you start, and there are proper institutions that are activated and working, quickly they will be prompted that there's something going on which is illegal. Obviously, they will come down at you and then, force you to comply. Is that the situation in this country? No. So all the time, you see people have a field day and do things that will come back to bite society painfully. And that's what we are experiencing. Because you can never put any structure anywhere in this country without permit. And permit means that you go through the proper procedures. Is that what has happened? And simply because we don't also punish them enough when they flout these things. So they have impunity has set in. Yes, I will begin and then go through the process. After all, nothing will happen. And that is the situation. If we don't correct this, we are going to have more of this. I am not a doomsayer, but where I stand, I say it, this is what I see. Right. Institution must work. It must work very well. Asogli staff in demonstration. If you listen to their story, that there are some people who have been thrown out of job and they want their reinstatement and all that. This industrial dispute can be solved if management and workers can sit and then discuss this. It shouldn't be difficult for one to stand an olive branch to the other so that they can sit at the table and talk and address this. Because at the end of the day, those who own the company want the company to continue and make profit. And then those who also are working for their means of livelihood. So all these two interests must be balanced in such a way that it doesn't create a problem.
Right.
But I don't like a situation where management and matters of this nature, sometimes all these things fall on deaf ears until they are forced to do certain things that it detracts or it undermines productivity. And it doesn't bode well for organization that has that type of image that they want to salvage all the time. So I think management must listen and sit down with workers and then resolve this thing amicably. We have seen demonstration, strike, and all that, industrial arrest, but there is always a way out. They should find a way out. It is not difficult to do.
Now, just to wrap with these headlines, in less than a minute, we can react to them. The final newspaper, Ensure the True Value of Assets. That's the Commissioner of Insurance, Professor Justice Yao Furi, who has said, insuring an asset far and above the actual value of the asset is a waste of money. But the Daily Guide is where I'll wrap. There is NDC presidential polls in limbo. Dufour goes to court. And it has to do with the album. The provisions have been made. There's a bit of back and forth and maybe some hypocrisy on some ends, but that is the story there. But I'll wrap with this. FDA warns public over Polyfort from Nigeria. I want to put this out there. The Food and Drugs Authority has warned the public about the recall of all batches of Polyfort, and that is spelled Polyfort, suspension, from Nigeria. The recalled drug is used for the treatment of heartburn, indigestion, and hyperacidity, and is manufactured in Nigeria by Swiss Pharma Limited. A statement issued by the FDA on Tuesday said the recall was due to negative results being recorded from a series of ongoing stability tests. So please, the FDA has put it out there. Be on the lookout. Polyfort, you might get into trouble. I'm putting this out there because of what we've seen with some cough mixtures and other things, which took the lives of many people in Gambia. Some of these products coming from India and all of that. This time it is Polyfort. So be on the lookout as a people. Final words, Doc, as we wrap.
Yes, I'll look at the FDA. Thumbs up to FDA. They are doing a good job. They are, if you now look around, they are quick to respond to things of this nature. I support them. We want to see more, and so that we can save our society. The cost of maintaining a healthy society is not easy, so we don't want to undermine this. We don't have resources. The little that we have, we want to save our people. So we have an institution which is required to check the regulations, and they are doing that for them. Should not renege. They should continue, and we support them.
Thank you, Doc, for having joined us this morning for the review. As always, I wish you the best of the day and the rest of the week. And that is Dr. Kwame Asasante. He is a political scientist, also the head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Of course, this segment brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening, free fertility screening as well if you're a woman. And you can find them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. They're in Kumasi, Krunumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's also Takrady Anaji Estate. There's Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Enzama. Their call line 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But only the start of sports. It's a mouth-watering lineup we have for you. Do stay for that.
It is another day. It is another AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. And on Tuesday, the National Youth Authority, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and the Ghana Football Association commemorated the 22nd edition of the May 9 disaster that happened on May 9, 2001, where about 127 football lives were taken due to tear gas that were thrown into the stands by police officers. Well, General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association, Prosper Harrison Addo, says that human behavior is the most important thing required other than laws. According to him, laws would only be good enough to govern the sport if human behavior accompanied the regulations.
Over the years, since the 9th of May 2021, we've seen some improvement in terms of the regulation itself, in terms of safety and security, the stadium architecture, the mindset of people, and other things. The key part is human behavior. You can make the best laws, you can make build the best stadia. If the individuals do not change the mindset and do not see each other as fellow Ghanaians, fellow sports fans who have come to enjoy football, and that they do not see the game for what it is. Football is a sport, just like any other sporting activity. There are various outcomes, and the fact that there are various outcomes is the very reason why we love football. For, I dare say, if all football matches are to end in one particular way, I don't think anybody would follow football. But the fact that we know that on a particular day, a less fancied team, a less financed team, a less resource team in terms of the players and everything can come to the play and come to the party and beat a well-resourced team or the favorite. That's the very reason why we love football. Because if the favorite will win all the time, there will be no need for other teams to play. And so once we understand sports that is supposed to give us enjoyment and it's entertainment, and that involves human beings who are prone to human error. And so there will be chances for both sides, and then we'll have a win, a draw, or a loss. You can lose a match. And so once we understand it that way, I think that we will live within the rules and then we will obey the laid down standards that have been put at the various parks. And we'll come and enjoy our game and go back safely.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Youth and Sports, Mustafa Yusuf, he says that football is meant to unite us and not divide us.
We remember today not only the lives were lost, but also the bravery of those who rushed to assist in the rescue effort or mission, provided comfort to those affected on that fateful day. These strategies serve as a reminder of the importance of safety in our stadium. As Sports Minister, I'm committed to ensuring the safety of all athletes and spectators attending sporting events, and we must take the necessary steps to make sure that such tragedy never happen again. And I want all of us to say, never again. Never again. This day is also a time to reflect on the power of sports in our society. Sports has the power to unite us and to bring us together regardless of our differences. It is therefore important that we use the power of sports to promote peace among ourselves and understanding and unity among all of us. The government of Ghana is committed to ensuring that sports is accessible to all of us and that everyone can participate and enjoy it. We are constantly looking for ways to improve the safety of our sports and to ensure that all our athletes and spectators are able to enjoy the sports in a safe and a secure environment. As we remember the May 9th stadium disaster, let us honor those who lost their life and commit.
Now, let's hear from Herbert Mensah. He was the Chief Executive Officer of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. When the May 9th disaster happened some 22 years ago, he says it is important that the victims, their families are supported.
If you want to bring about change, you keep doing it. If you want people not to forget, you keep doing it. May 9th, we've spoken enough. Everybody understands the pain, the loss of what happened in that time, and we respect it every single year. This year, we're supporting this wonderful foundation, the Shen Yang and Shen Yue Foundation, Hole in the Heart victims. And the owner, YC, has done an incredible job. His son suffered from it. He invested in it to make sure the son would be okay. And I persuaded him to help Ghanaians. And he's committed to 20 a year. As you know, each operation is between 6 and 13, 14,000 American dollars. And we've already done 10 this year, 8 successfully. And these are some of the children. As you can see, they're back to full strength. Beautiful, beautiful children. So every year we try and do something different. We have flood victims here. We have atomic blast victims here. We have May 9th victims here. And that is the theme. It's not a big deal. If you want to help, you help. You pray for peace. You don't pray for violence. And for us, we're out there to try and encourage people to see, to learn, to understand. Do they listen? We can only try. That's all we can do.
Herbert Mensah says, if you want to help, you help. And former Black Stars midfielder Derek Boateng has called on the Ghana Football Association to help the grassroots level to unearth the next generation of talents that will fit into the national teams. According to him, the football governing body in the country concentrates on the Black Stars, an area he feels does not need the support of the Ghana Football Association. He believes with the right investment at a grassroots level, the senior national team would always have the best of talents coming through.
If our Black Star will be good in the future, it depends on the under-17 and the youth football, the grassroots football. Nobody cares about them. When we're there, you don't have per diem. There's no bonuses. There's no salaries there. So they don't give a damn about what is going on there. Look, for instance, I was in Ghana, I think 2 years ago or last year. there was a tournament going, WAFA or something like that, WAFA or something in Cape Coast. I was there. I was scouting for Right to Dream. I was there to work for Right to Dream, and I was watching Nigeria beating us 4-0 under 17. Come on. Since I started playing for Ghana, I never saw Nigeria beating us 4-0 before. Nigeria cannot stand us when it comes to football. You understand? So for me, watching that game, and I made my name from youth football, grassroots football, is really, really, really sad. It's really, really sad. I was just sitting down and I lost concentration. That I'm there for Right to Dream, to scout for Right to Dream, not for the national team. But when I saw what's going on there in the game, during the game, and I'm watching it, and I don't even see none of the officials there or anything, I was really, really heartbroken. So what I did is, like, the next day, I went to the training grounds. I don't have to be there because I'm not there on the national team ticket. I was there for Right to Dream. But I went to the training grounds, and I have a words of encouragement with the players. If you see their body language, you know that they have been broken. They lost the game before going on the field already. Because there's no one there. Because now football play before you go to the pitch. Before, we normally go to the pitch and play, but now you have to play the game in your mind, your body, everything before you move into the pitch. But me talking to them on that day, I just watching them and I said, oh, wow, how could this be? This is our national team under 17. These players need care. They are 17 years old, 16 years old. People need to be there for them. But only thing that the things that we normally do is that we wait when there's a blaster match and you see a whole bunch of people going for a blaster match. Let's say there's under 17 match, no one will go. And it's really, really heartbroken.
Well, Executive Council member of the Ghana Football Association, Sami Enim Ado, he says that the GFA do not have the resources to invest in grassroots football.
We've made a proposal to the ministry, the legacy project we want to do, which includes even a juvenile center, regional juvenile development center, where we can play more juvenile competitions there and also support some of the coaches and other things so that we can build capacity so that they can produce a lot of quality for us. I personally, I'm on record to produce a lot of quality for the nation. Nana bears witness with that. What about that? I'm part of the FE. Everybody will do its part. But when we don't have the funding, which has been the biggest problem in Ghana, the people we challenge with Nigeria and all, they have funding for their domestic competition. Senegal, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, they have funding from the state. We don't have. I'm not saying we are perfect. We have some lapses. We are not that perfect organization, but we are doing our very best, and we've got juvenile competitions. But every region, every district, every corner, juvenile competitions are being played. Go to everywhere now. There's a scouting program. There are scouts all over. So it means we are putting things in place. It doesn't mean that we are there yet, but gradually we will get there.
Samuel Enimado, he's an executive council member of the Ghana Football Association. Let's do UEFA Champions League football, and the first leg of the semi-final contest between Real Madrid and Manchester City at the Santiago Bernabeu ended in a stalemate. It was Vinicius Jr. who grabbed the first goal for Real Madrid before Calvin De Bruyne got the equalizer for Pep Guardiola's men. We brought this game to you at our audience at the Poquitos inside Osu, and tonight you'll have an opportunity of joining us at La Tabia-Koshe when we go there for a contest between AC Milan and Inter Milan. It is the Derby de Madonnina as the two San Siro clubs clash tonight for a place in the UEFA Champions League final. One player who has tasted success in the UEFA Champions League is Olivier Giroud. He says that his team will not underrate their opponent, which is Inter Milan, tonight. A derby will always be a derby, and you have an opportunity of joining us later tonight in La Tabia-Koshe when we bring you the semi-final match between AC Milan and Inter Milan. The Joy Sports team will be there, and my colleague Fentiu Tahir will be giving you commentary of that contest. This is how we wrap up AM Sports here with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullah. You can head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories. We appreciate your company this morning.
Uniform back by uniform to go on the At this point, tears cloud her eyes, and shortly after, all emotion she had bottled up finally let loose.
Ali me baka sala kana ma akpa uniform baka hunga nkakata uta ya do to kwa mo ko tsani na ali tla gbi ko go uta agbate.
So, as you can see, we're going to be talking about Ghana's schools of shame. And even before we get to speak to our guest, let me just put this out there. You would notice that it's been quite a while. We would have started with our big stories by now. And I feel we ought to call out when calling out is due. We had an engagement with Deputy Majority Whip and Member of Parliament for Tolong, Habib Idrisu. Deputy Majority Whip, Member of Parliament for Tolong, Habib Idrisu, to be on the show this morning as we talk about myriad issues of national scope. We've done our bit to reach him, and we simply can't. We don't have Habib with us this morning, and he's simply not responding to all attempts we have made. I'm just putting this out there for those who sometimes may suggest that, oh, the other side may not be represented on this or that. These are some of the situations we go through. So I had to call out this person this morning. Habib Idrisu, a very good morning to you. But you consented to be with us on the show as Deputy Majority Whip and Member of Parliament for Tolong. I'm sure your constituents in your constituency would have wanted to see you as we get into these all-important matters. Unfortunately, brothers and sisters, fellow Ghanaians, he's not here with us. But we're going to make the most of the time as we talk about Ghana's schools of shame. Season 2 is out. You just saw snippets of that. And that little girl's tears have left all of us in tears. She wonders why she has to study on the floor. They don't even have a blackboard, a proper blackboard, so to speak. Their exercise book, the only exercise book they have is the floor, which is where they write. No desks, no infrastructure, so to speak, just the dilapidated roof over their heads. They don't even have proper school uniforms, and she questions why it is different in other parts of the country, and for them, in Bimbala, they simply get the worst. Well, joining us for a conversation on this matter, Abdullahi Yakub. He is District Chief Executive in the Nanumba North District. Abdullahi joins us for a conversation. A very good morning to you, Abdullahi.
Good morning to you and your viewers.
Great. It is good to have you join the conversation this morning. As DCE, I recall months back...
I am in Municipal Assembly, please.
So you are a Municipal Chief Executive, is that what you're saying?
Please. Yes,
Thank you very much for that clarification. Municipal Chief Executive. Now, the last time we put together Ghana Schools of Shame, the first had to do with the Pandai district. Now we've come to Bimbala, and we are at the Bimbala municipality, Nanumba North area to be specific. How much do you know about this situation, how schools, basic schools are faring in your municipality? How much do you know of some of the challenges they are facing?
Thank you very much. I am very much aware of the problem. And if you look at the municipality, we have over 15,000 furniture deficit in the over 100 basic and then junior high schools in the area. Last month, Action Aid gave us 700 dual decks and then over 104 tables for KGs and then 684 chairs for the KGs. In our own small way, as the Assembly, we have provided over the years about 1,100 furniture. The Minister of Education last year gave us 400 pieces of dual decks. And currently, as we speak, the assembly has constructed or manufactured about 200 dual decks yet to be distributed to the schools. So we are aware that we have this problem, this challenge in the municipality, and because of the financial constraints of the assembly, we are not able to produce the dual decks as it is required. So we do them gradually based on our financial model. So that is why we appeal to Action Aid, who have worked in the municipality for over 2 decades, and they came to our aid by providing us this number of pieces of furniture last month. And the MP has also assured that he will be supplying some of the furniture to the municipality for onward submission to the schools that are hard hit by the furniture situation, like Bakpaba, which you just heard.
So if you look at that deficit that you just spoke about, 150,000 in over 100 basic schools, that's what you said, right?
Yes, we have over 100 public basic schools and over 40 private schools in the municipality.
Let's focus on the public ones. On the back of what you just told me, how long have you been at post? 2 years?
No, this is my second term.
This is your second term?
Yes, please.
So how long in total?
That is since 2017. I have been there.
So that's
then to the MCE now.
Okay, so that's just about 4.5 or 5 years, right?
Yes, yes.
Has the situation always been same?
Well,
in terms of the deficit, I mean specifically, around 150,000. Have we?
No, we have over 15,000 furniture deficit. That is, we've won almost about 30,000. That is, when we talking of 15,000, that means, we have...
Yes, I beg your pardon, 15,000, not 150,000.
Yes,
15,000.
Yes, it's 15,000, yes.
Since 2017, just a quick one. Since 2017, has it been like this? Is it better now?
It is improving because, as I said, we consistently supply. Every year we give a number, but I must admit that the number doesn't match the rate at which the schools will expand. We still open up new schools, and some of the schools. Now, the good thing is that you cannot build a school without furnishing it. Initially, you build a classroom block with a furniture, and then you now have to budget for furniture. But this time around, when you are putting up a classroom block, it comes with the furniture and everything. So all the schools that we have opened of late are all furnished. So when you are handing over with furniture and everything. Unlike previously, you build a school block with that furniture, and then before you now budget to now finish the school. This time around, we are mandated to make sure that when we are constructing the school, it goes with the furniture and whatever requirements that the school needs. So yes, 2017 it was more, but this time around it has come down a little bit, though not as the way we would have liked it to be.
So you say 2017. I'm sorry to interject. You say in 2017 it was worse. Can you put a figure to it? I'd like to know. I mean, has it reduced from 17,000 to 15,000 or 20,000?
I can say from 20,000 to 15,000. So we are making gains. Even though it is at a slow pace. So
in 5 years, it has reduced by 5,000. That's what you're saying?
Yes, something like that, yes. So it's a challenge, and I want to still appeal to the Minister of Education and other NGOs who have the capacity to come to our aid. Because, the municipality for some time was engulfed in this chieftaincy problem. So for a very long time, for years. So money that could have been used to do this went into security, maintenance of security and law and order. So that's how come that we are still at where we are now. So actually it's a challenge that we are trying to see how we can fix. Even if you come to the Biblia Township, you will see schools similar to that of Bakpaba. So it's a challenge that I admit. And we are doing whatever we can in our small way to be able to produce some of these furniture. You know, what we are manufacturing now is wooden furniture. We have a lot of trees that people cut and go to Accra to sell. So I met the chiefs and they agreed that let us salvage those wood that will be used for furniture so that the assembly can use it to manufacture furniture for our children who are lying on their belly. So we started. And so far, that's how I've said we've done over 200 and we are still continuing to see what we'll be able to do to reduce the furniture deficit in the municipality.
Beyond these, what sort of support has come through from the Education Ministry, for example? In our last episode of Ghana Schools of Shame, we drove the agenda, and as far as I recall, there was a 7,000 deficit in terms of desks. The ministry, or the Ghana Education Service, but the ministry ensured that 5,000 went to Pandai. I do not know whether the further deficit of 2,000 has been closed. But what exactly has the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, done in terms of this deficit in Bimbilla?
I think so far we've received 600 from Ministry of Education.
600?
600, yeah.
So over the last 5 years, let's look at a breakdown. 600 from the Ministry of Education. How then have you catered for the additional 4,400 that have been provided?
No, I told you that the assembly every year we supply a number of dual decks to the
like the 200 that you spoke of.
Yes, we are yet to even give it to the Education Directorate. Hopefully this week or next week for onward distribution to the schools. So that is how the situation has been. So the other supplies came from the municipal assembly.
So how do you fund this? You've told me about the latest batch of 200 and all of that, but how do you fund this? Out of your common fund?
Yes, please. Out of the common fund or the DDF, District Development Fund. That is the two sources of funds that we use to construct these dual decks for the schools. And
you've spoken about some NGOs, for example, that have also been assisting.
Yes, I think it's ActionAid that have supplied this. They've been they have their schools that they have been supporting. I've told you that they've worked in the municipality for over 2 decades. So periodically they come around to supply them with this furniture. Whenever they see that their schools are lacking, they come to supply them. So I'm not sure this is not the first time that they have supported the municipality in terms of furniture. I think this is about the second time. And over 700 pieces of dual decks. And then the KG, they have done about 104 tables and then 684 chairs for supply. That has been distributed to the schools already since last month. And I want to stand here and then thank them. And they promise that they will not leave us. They will still continue to support us. And I want to urge other NGOs to come to our aid so that the situation that we see today will change coming into the future.
How much does a desk, one of those desks like the 200 that you've put together, how much does one cost?
Well, it depends upon the quality of wood. We have some which is 250 and the others about 500. If it is red wood or odum, then you would have it between 100 and 500. Initially, we used to do metal dual decks. And we realized that when it is sent to the rural communities and it is broken, they find it difficult to mend because you have to send a welding machine to the village where at times they don't even have lights. But if it is the wooden disc, they easily get a carpenter to fix them back. So we are doing both metal and then wood, where we feel that we have those schools in towns, we supply them with the metal discs, and those who are far into the hinterland, we give them the wooden furniture. So that is, and then for the metal discs, it also costs between 200 and then 100 thereabout. depending upon the quality and the type that you want them to do for you.
Let's also look at what the plan moving forward would be. First off, your engagements with the Ministry of Education, your engagements with the Ghana Education Service. I know the ministry basically caters to or caters for all of these. Have you put in further requests in terms of the urgency of the situation? Because you would admit, from what we saw in the video, it is pathetic. It is heartbreaking. None of us would want our children to be in such a situation. And mind you, that little girl laments, speaking her local language, that she does not understand why other school children can be treated so much better. And for them, they have to basically be like this, on the floor, bare floor. Look at their knees, all scratched, all looking black. They are on the floor with their uniforms. It is very demeaning. So what is the plan? What has been the engagement? At least I premise it on what happened in Pandai. Can we do same? Can you push for same to happen in your municipality? What is the plan? What have you done so far?
It is my prayer, because I think last month data was collected from us, from the Ministry of Education, concerning the furniture situation in the municipality, which was given. And I also know that the Member of Parliament also demanded the same information which was given to him. And everyone has seen what is happening. And I think it is enough for everyone to know that the situation in the Nanumba North municipality, as far as furniture, is so appalling. So I am coming to follow up on Thursday or Friday to find out what is being done. But in our own small way, we are also trying to, we have, in the assembly, our plan is that we are coming to stop constructing new schools and renovate the old schools so that at least it will be in good shape. Bapawa is one of the old schools in the municipality, and for a very long time, some of the buildings have not seen renovation. So next year, our plan is to renovate most of the old structures to make them befitting for education, whilst we expand or increase our budget line for furniture in the assembly, so that some of these problems can be resolved, if not completely solved.
What other plans are afoot from your end to bridge the gap? It is obvious that, look, even in Pandai with a district with a deficit of 7,000, we got 5,000 initially. Like I said, I don't know whether the rest of the deficit has been cleared, but you have a backlog of 15,000, and it's taken realistically 5 years, 2017 till now. It's more like 6 years, and you've only cleared a deficit of 5,000, which then means that with this deficit of 15,000, if we follow that same snail-paced approach, we would need 15 years, more or less, to clear the backlog. I don't think the pupils in your municipality have 15 years. That would take us all the way to what? 2037, 38, thereabouts, before they clear the deficit. So beyond what you've told me, beyond the help of Action Aid, beyond any philanthropical work, beyond your common fund, beyond all of these, is there anything else we can do to accelerate this drive?
Yes, I'm also appealing to the numbers in the diaspora and those who are staying outside the municipality to support, because we have rich people who are coming from the municipality. They can also support. Then while there's 20, they should bring them together so that we can use it to support our own children. So it's an appeal that I'm making to all those of us who are coming from the municipality, that this is a situation that we are facing, and the assembly alone cannot solve the problem. So they should also contribute in solving the problems that we are having in the municipality. This is an appeal I'm making to them and other NGOs, as I earlier on said, so that at least in some few years we'll be able to bridge this furniture deficit that we are having in the municipality. This is what I have to say.
Well, we're very grateful for your time. Thank you so much for joining the conversation this morning, Abdullahi Yakub. And we can only wish you the very best. We have played our part, at least part of our part, by highlighting the issue, by shedding light on the matter. We're hoping that the powers that be, those who have to act, will do so, and that you will receive assistance in resolving this matter so our little brothers and sisters can get better. We wish you the best, sir. And that is Abdullahi Yakub. He is the municipal chief executive in Nanumba North. He was engaging us on Ghana's Schools of Shame. It's the second season, the second part of the series that we have put out. This time, bringing to sharp focus the deficit, inadequacy of furniture, and the yawning deficit, as confirmed by the MCE, 15,000. It was 20,000 around 2017. And in about 6 years, only 5,000 has been taken off. Like I said, that would probably mean we would need so many more years, 15 years to be precise, to clear the rest of the deficit. Well, we still have a lot of action still to come on the AM show. We're going to be talking about the collapsed building in Old Botiano and what is happening in our construction sector or industry. We also have that interaction with NADMO on the back of SAME and AM business. All of that still to come on the AM show. Do stay. We'll be back after the break. Thank you for staying with us. You can see in the background, we're talking about politics, party politics, with the spotlight on the National Democratic Congress. And of course, we know ahead of that primary, or that big one where they elect their flag bearer, there has been the threat of stalling the process using the justicial system, the courts. And there's a reason. It has to do with the album and certain documentation that has to be shared among the parties. Well, Team Dufour is contesting some of that. We're joined now by Antonio Edem Asinyo. He is a spokesperson for Kwabena Dufour, Dr. Kwabena Dufour. Antonio, a very good morning to you.
Hey, brother, how are you doing?
I am well. The Daily Guide this morning captures what is happening as, quote, NDC presidential polls in limbo. Dufour goes to court. I have followed this process, and I just want to know from you, explain to all of Ghana why it has come to this and what the posturing of Team Dufour is on the matter. You're going to court on this matter.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. It's simple. Dr. Dufour is a Democrat. He has been in Ghana, worked the financial sector, studied mathematics, been the central bank governor, worked the Ghana Commercial Bank, been the finance minister, and has several businesses in this country, and a very respected member of the NDC for that matter. He has availed himself to lead a party, and as you are aware, the party has been involved in some reorganization to recapture power come 2024. The party leadership assured Dr. Dufour that he was going, not only Dr. Dufour, all aspirants, that they were going to furnish them with the photo album so we can be able to have a free, transparent and fair election. And as you are aware, the base document for every free, fair and transparent election is the voters register, and as what we call photo album. That was not done. On the 17th of April, Dr. Dufour's team wrote to the party, drawing attention to the fact that we needed the voters register in order to audit it. So we are all satisfied that going through the process, we are happy with whatever outcome that comes. Already we know the outcome. Dr. Dufour is going to win regardless. There was no response from the party, and we followed up with another letter on the 2nd of May. Again, there was no response to Dr. Dufour. So 2 letters were written to the party requesting for the said document, which was not given, and there was no official response or letter written back to Dr. Dufour. Then there was a meeting on the 4th of May, and that meeting even never referenced the letters that we sent the party. But that meeting the party gave us some documents which we are tagged or we are calling incomplete, because out of the 276 constituencies, the party gave us 220. And it's important to note, at the said meeting, the party said they were giving us 228. But when we worked on the document, we identified that it was 220 constituencies. So what did we do? We quickly had to come back home because we already had infrastructure, or we built the system to be able to audit the voters register. So we didn't really take time. We were given this document on the 4th of May. By the 7th, 8th, we're done looking at it, and we identified some serious concerns. Let me take you through some of the concerns or some issues we identified in the register. We identified that 54% of the delegates in the photo album, their identities are yet to be identified. We identified again that 28% of delegates in the section list had no information at all. 2% of the names were additionally added to the register. And it's important to note that the percentage can be higher after the identities have even been verified. Again, 26% of the NDC delegates were missing from the register. We could not find them. The percentage again can be higher if the identities have been verified. Then there were duplicated photos, there were duplicated voters' IDs, unidentified persons were added onto the register, the full extent to which we really cannot speak to since we don't have the entire document. And 46% of the register cannot be validated with correct voter ID, party ID, photo, gender, polling station number, or police station code. So after identifying all this, what did Dr. Dufour's team do? We put together the documents and the evidence and attached to a letter. And in the letter, we suggested that looking at the number or the seriousness of the concerns or the irregularities with the register, it will be only prudent that the party postpones it, calls all stakeholders to a meeting, agree on a time frame for us to work or correct these anomalies. Then we can go into an election knowing that we are all satisfied with the document that is essential, the outcome. The posturing of the party is not one that gave, let me use the correct expression, individuals and the leaders of the party did not give a correct posture. Since we have no issue at all, as we speak, that document that was given to the party, there's not been any response to it. And for me, it's important to know that if we are serious about winning power in 2024, this eternal contest will be a test case for it. We need to be thorough, we need to respect opponents, we need to be able to do the right thing. And what else would Dr. Dufour do after exhausting all the internal structures of the party? Is to resort to legal to the court. And that is the only right thing to do. We are not going to demonstrate or be anti-party. We will use the law to correct whatever wrongs we've identified. So that's a summary of it.
Now, I have listened to your head of research and strategy, Kofi Kukubo. Yesterday, he had some interactions. But you say by the 4th of May. So you had the 220 available by the 4th of May?
Yes, that was last week, yeah.
Right. And per what I have heard, mention has been made of the fact that every step of the way, your team has been engaged in the meetings, and whatever deficits, so to speak, or whatever remains to be delivered. I mean, Deputy General Secretary Mustafa Gbande has been speaking on that. I listened to him engaging yesterday. You have been abreast of the information every step of the way. You don't have any information less than any other candidate does. Yet, instead of resolving this matter internally, you went to court, so to speak, to sabotage the process. Every step of the way, with the remaining numbers that are to be added to the album, you have been furnished with the information. So what exactly is the problem?
I find the question a bit curious, or the statement from the Deputy General Secretary a bit curious. If the other candidates are not interested, it does not make our concerns illegitimate. Are the concerns raised legitimate? I've given you the data. Did you respond to that? So if you brush it aside and make it look like we don't have a case, then what do you expect the candidate to do? What you are saying is that we have an incomplete register going to an election on Saturday. The incomplete register that was given us, we've looked at it, we've identified issues, we've given all the evidence, and I must emphasize, it's a 40-page document, region by region, itemizing whatever concerns we have. So that is the issue that Deputy General Secretary should be speaking to. No one intends to sabotage anything. As we speak with you, Dr. Dufo is in Asante Region campaigning. So you're ready for the election. However, we will not just gloss over issues that need to be addressed. That is not going to happen. We need to do the right thing, and that's the only thing that's the right thing to do, and that will give us the credibility to even call the Electoral Commission to go into future elections should some of these things happen. So I really do not see the fight here, or the concerns raised should be addressed, then we all move on, build a party, win the election 2024, and be able to govern this country.
I don't think he disputes that, but he says that having given you the full breadth of information, every step of the way, you knew exactly what the processes were, today what will happen, tomorrow what will happen, ahead of Saturday, and that it's not as though the system has been opaque in terms of information flow. You know exactly how many have been delivered and how many are expected to be delivered, and that before D-Day, all of you are going to have this information. Did that not suffice? Did you have to go to court?
Let's draw attention to the issues raised. I'm not even talking about the remaining. I already told you we are working with the 220, but the issues raised with the register given us, are we even addressing it? That is where our focus should be. You've given us 220 constituencies, fine. We don't have all, and we are expecting the rest. However, the 220 you've given us, these are the issues we have with it, and we've given you that. Let me walk you through those issues again. The 220 constituencies that have been given us, we have identified that 54% of the delegates in the album list identities are yet to be verified.
Expand on that. What exactly do you mean? I noted that down. 54% without their identities established, 26% with other details missing and all of that. Give us a proper breakdown. When you say identity yet to be known or made clear, what exactly do you mean? I know it probably comes across as we can't identify them, but what exactly do you mean?
What we mean is that the names, every name on the photo album given us, we have to verify or audit it. In our audit, we've identified that 54% of the sum, the delegates in the photo album, identities are yet to be validated. Validated means either voter's ID, party card, photo, gender, polling station number, and these are serious issues. So if my name is in the register and I do not have, you find a name in the register and you do not have a polling station number attached to it, then where did the person register at? So these are concerns that we should be happy that Dr. Dufo has been identified and drawn our attention to. It should be legitimate error. Nobody is in our communication saying that somebody is deliberately doing something untoward. But we've identified these errors with the document given us. Let's fix it and move into the election. How peaceful can you be? This is nothing to fight over. This is nothing to call people unorganized. This is nothing to call people anti-party. Actually, this is what the party needs. Because if you remember, we've had 2 general elections that the NDC, unfortunately, was unable to collect results. We've had elections, so it means that the process going to the election, we must police every stage of it. And that is what Dr. Dufo is doing. And this is certainly going to strengthen the party. Those who are sleeping on the job will have to do it. If these identities or errors identified are not legitimate, they should say so. So that is what we should be speaking to, and not issues that are irrelevant to the subject matter on the table. But the subject matter on the table is that 220 constituencies have been given us. We've identified errors. We've written to you. It's a 40-page document itemizing the errors region by region. That is what the party, Mustafa and Co, should be speaking to.
Are you disappointed that you're this close to the presidential primary and you're facing the hurdles that you say are prevalent ahead of Saturday? Are you disappointed?
I'm not disappointed. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised that we have an election 2 days and the party does not have the entire... I mean, in the real sense, we're even supposed to do exhibition. And again, another concern we raised to the party, the arbitrariness of the process. The party did say that there was not going to be any voter registration, exhibition, or what have you. But we realized that in K2 South and K2 North, they were undertaking voter registration, exhibition, and validation process. And that is part of the arbitrariness that we've identified. So, for me, I'm surprised. Some other people can be disappointed, but I'm surprised that a party that has been in power before and has been in opposition established 3 decades ago, some of these errors we are still encountering. But we are not deterred. It's a human institution. Errors will occur. We will fix it, and that is all we are doing.
Your head of research and strategy, again, I'm going to Kofi Kukubo. He had an interaction on Asempa FM yesterday, and he contended that a complete and accurate voter register was critical for ensuring that eligible voters were correctly enrolled, as well as preventing fraudulent activities such as multiple voting, impersonation, and being denied a vote on election day. These are serious allegations that are being made. Fraud, multiple voting, impersonation. In any election, and of course the Electoral Commission will oversee this, in any election, these can hamper whatever results emanate from that process. So I put it to you then, is Team Dufour scared that if some of these matters are not addressed, the primary could be rigged or marred? Is it a fear you have?
It's certainly not a fear. But what my colleague, Mr. Kukubo, said is a fact. It's not an allegation. I mean, if you have a voters register or our photo album that you suspect is not the right people are not on it, certainly people, if you have duplicated photos, names, what have you, these are things that questions the credibility of the process. So it's important that we state that as a fact. It's not an allegation. And if we identified it, we clearly would have concerns. So the concerns is what we are hoping and praying that the party and everybody concerned will address. So the fact that we are raising concerns for it to be addressed does not mean there's any fear. We are ready for the election. Dr. Dufo is in Asante Region campaigning. And, but he will not be, he will not overlook errors that have been identified. No, that is not going to happen. If we identified errors, we all come together to fix it. And that's the only way we can move forward.
Let's look at something else. There are three other crucial areas I want us to look at, and then maybe we can cap off the conversation. Again, Mustafa Gbande says, look, Dr. Dufour is making, so to speak, a mountain out of a molehill. Plus, he should remember that he is not on the same level as, for example, another candidate who has served as president before. In fact, he intimates that Dr. Dufour does not have or carry the same influence as former President John Dramani Mahama to dictate how things should be handled. How do you react to that?
That's an unfortunate statement, but we can ignore it and forgive it. It should tell you the position.
Is it not the reality?
Are they not transparent? Did the document that, or the guideline of the election, give preference to anyone? We are all supposed to succumb to the dictates of the election or the process. The guideline applies to all. So what he's saying is irrelevant, but it can be forgiven. All of them are transparent. Unless they are telling me one is a better, what was the right word. One is, all of them are transparent. So I really do not see the logic in that particular claim.
Where we've got to now, you look at members of parliament who have openly thrown their support behind former President Mahama. You look at bigwigs in the party who have thrown their weights behind him, who have said that he is the person to save the party. Just today, for example, we're showing how when he went to one of the northern regions, he was hailed and from municipal executives, well, not municipal executives, but parliamentary representatives of those areas, among others, the leadership of the party, regional executives, throwing their weight, so to speak, behind him. Some have said that on the back of all that and the defeat that your team sees to be looming large, you are doing all of this just to save face, as a face-saving enterprise. How true is that?
Did you hear them speak to the issues that have been raised?
We have spoken about the issues, but I'm asking you, is Team Dufour merely bringing this up because you know you are going to lose, and so you're trying to create some distraction so that when that happens, if it happens, you would be able to say, well, it's because of X, Y, and Z that we are not here?
My brother, everybody is free to support whoever you want to support. And you just made reference to a video from the North. You can also make reference to Dr. Dufour's campaign in the North and see the number of people that came out to support him. And I mean, it's a democratic process. People have the right to support whoever they want to support. And former appointees or MPs supported the former president in the last election. The same fanfare was done, but we lost. What we as NDC need to be focusing on is winning power. And whatever it is that must be done to win power, we must do. So, whether one person is winning or losing, for me, is relevant. But I'm telling you today, Dr. Dufour is going to win the election if it's even done today. Because what we are having over 300,000 people voting. The people you are saying that former appointees or MPs form just 1% or 5% of it. Those to decide are the branch executives, and those are the focus. They are those you are interacting with. And not even saying that all former appointees support a particular candidate. That's not accurate. But for me, my issue is that we should be focusing on dealing with the current issue, which is the issues identified in the voters register provided the candidates. And it's interesting to note, and I welcome it, former President Mahama can also look at the voters register given them and see whether the concerns being raised are legitimate or not. And maybe you as a journalist should be asking them whether they've gone through the voters register that was given them and whether they've identified the errors that the Dufour team is speaking to. If they have, fine, then we all work together. If they haven't, then we can look at it again, audit it and see. That is what a serious party should be doing. So they should be interested in the conversation we are having now. Kojobo should be interested in the conversation we are having now.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised? And it's interesting you bring him up. I was going to do that. Are you surprised that he has not, raised any issues on this? Not that I have heard. I've not heard a peep out of him. It is only Team Dufour. Are you surprised?
No, I should be honest with you. I mean, maybe they have raised. I don't speak for the team. Maybe they have.
No, but publicly, we do not have any such, information. That's what I'm saying. You have come out into the public space.
It could be their strategy. I don't speak for the teams. I really cannot make any suggestions. But my focus is my candidate becoming the leader, and we are working towards it. So, as whether I'm being surprised by another candidate's approach or not is immaterial, really. The focus is the concerns raised, whether they have identified things, and whether they agree that we should postpone the election, correct these errors, and move into the election stronger so that the outcome will be acceptable by all. So the focus is identifying the issues, dealing with the issues that have been identified with the voters register given, even though it's incomplete.
The substance of the matter, the meat of it, will be addressed by your party. We are not here to address that. And you've taken the matter to court. We'll be talking about that bit as well. But just on the point I made earlier about the support that has been thrown behind the former president, John Mahama, I heard one of the representatives, in the locality, I have to get his name, say that this will be based on experience, not experiment, where experiment will be the likes of Dr. Dufour and Kojobo, and experience would be the likes of former President Mahama, who has been at post. That was the suggestion. So I ask you, when you say categorically that Dr. Kwabena Dufour is going to win the primary, even if you hold it today, is that being realistic? Just tell us, what is the fervor, the groundswell of support that you have had that gives you the backing to say this? Maybe we could go back to what Sir John says, fear delegates. Maybe that could happen. But should your campaign lose, what would be the reaction? You're so certain that you'll win.
I'm very certain we'll win because we do have a good message. And the welfare of the party, the state of the party is what is central to Dr. Dufour's present flag bearership race. Certainly that coach is going to different movement. If he becomes a leader, we'll be looking at national issues. Why would anyone move into a contest without expectation to win? So I find the question a bit, Dr. Dufour is in this race to win.
Antonio, I get the point you're making. You definitely, as a member of the team, you'll not be going in thinking of losing, but there is aspiration and there is also reality. Some have said that the reality is that what is going to pan out is not going to be dissimilar from what we've seen in the last few primaries. If you go as far back as Atta Mills and the great numbers by which he won, even against former First Lady Nana Kuredo Ajiman Rawlings, among others that we've seen go toe-to-toe with former presidents. It's just the trend, isn't it?
It's not a trend. And why is it not a trend? This is the first time, in my opinion, and again, the evidence is there, that the NDC is having an actual contest, that one candidate is ready, battle ready, and his message is one that identifies with the grassroots or the base of the party. Dr. Dufo, again, is not one that will take these kind of decisions lightly. I mean, on a lighter note, can you explain how Liverpool scored Manchester United 7-0? It's a contest, it's a competition, and everything is, I mean, if the former president thought it was a foregone conclusion, he would probably not be campaigning. So one thing you should know is that it's a contest, anything can happen, and the delegates know who they want to lead them. So we should just do the right thing, allow a fair playing ground, and go into the election, whatever outcome it is, everyone will accept it and be happy to come together to build a party. But I'm telling you today that Dr. Dufo is going to win should the election be held today. Because those that matter are those he's engaging, which is the grassroots of the party, the branch executives and the council executives. And the issues he's bringing to them are issues that they've lived. How can a party that has been in government before and in opposition, 30 years in existence, not have constituency offices? Most constituencies we travel to do not have offices. How can a party that established a very good initiative like the Heroes Fund not be able to sustain it and collapse it after the demise of Professor Mills? How can a party that has elders or cadres of the party who have sacrificed to build this party for us not be concerned about their welfare? How can a party have executives who are not properly motivated? I mean, Dr. Dufo is the only politician in this country that has brought in the project called the Ahunto Project. This is a micro business for every constituency in this country, comprising of 4 big canopies, 100 chairs, and a sound system for them to rent at their localities for outdoor events, get money for the party to be able to run party affairs. He's interested in making the party economically viable. He's spoken about looking at the models of ANC, South Korea, parties in South Korea, where parties have investments. So we do not burden or go for money from rich individuals who end up hijacking government like we experienced in the past and now. So this is somebody who is talking about the things that matter.
All right.
Talking about having food buffer stock in each region so that people, the schools, police, military will be able to have food, so the food will not be rotten by the roadside.
Antonio, hold for me. This is going to be of mutual benefit to both of us.
I'll have to go at the point.
I know, but it's just important. You've made a number of points. Guess what? We're joined by a member of the legal team of the NDC, Abraham Amaliba. I just want him to share the party's thoughts on this, because on the back of that, I'm going to ask you, the party's executive seems to be calling your bluff. The primary is going to be held anyway, regardless of the court process. So I just want his take quickly on that, and I'll come to you on this move by the national executive or the party's leadership. Mr. Amaliba, a very good morning to you, sir.
Morning to you and to your viewers.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. You've heard Antonio and some of the claims that have been made in terms of the album, in terms of information sharing, in terms of party offices across the country, non-existent ones, but specifically on the back of the claims that have been made. For example, out of the 220 constituencies, or so to speak, that have been furnished with, that have been given to them in terms of the details, 54% of delegates' identity are yet to be identified, so to speak, identities. 26% of some of their data is missing. I mean, it's a whole list of problems that you face ahead of Saturday, May the 13th. How are you addressing this? How did we get here where you couldn't identify these problems up to this point? And what are you going to be able to do ahead of Saturday to furnish the candidates with the information?
Thank you. This election, just like other elections held in the party, are regulated by guidelines. The guidelines do not talk about photo albums. The guidelines talks about the list of delegates who should be made available to the aspirants after the vetting. This delegates list was made available to the aspirants way back in March. So you see that they are not talking about that one at all. Their focus is on the party album or the delegates album or whatever it is. But this was an initiative of the party to enhance transparency. Now, they complain about the fact that as at yesterday or as at last Monday, they were not in possession of the full complement of the photo album. If they had attended a meeting yesterday, which they were invited but they failed to attend, the full complement of the voter register, the album, would have been made available to them. So on this call, the party has not flouted any regulations because the regulations don't talk about photo album. It talks about delegates list, which has been made available to them way back in March.
Are you telling? Okay, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Now you talk about discrepancies. This happens. It's a commonplace. When these things happen, we invite the aspirants into a meeting with the elections committee. And while that meeting is taking place or is going on, there's somebody who is sitting with a computer and then the corrections are inserted. This was a meeting that would have happened yesterday, but they abandoned the meeting and ran to court. So it is not as if when you are doing such an exercise, which covers about 356,624 delegates, our delegates are 356 rather, 624. There will definitely be some challenges, but what normally happens is for all the consensus or their representatives to come and sit with the election directorate, and then these corrections are made. You don't need to go to court on this. So that's my submission on this matter. They have other issues which to me, they got it all wrong.
Like which ones?
They say that the register is bloated by 7,000 delegates, that the register has more than 7,000 people inside who are not eligible to vote. You know what they did? Because we have 9 branches, nine executives in each branch of the party, they just took the 9999 in each branch and multiplied them by the number of polling stations we have, without including constituency executives who are eligible to vote, without including regional executives who are eligible to vote, without including national executives who are to vote, without including Dr. Dufour himself, former government appointees who are supposed to vote, the MPs who are supposed to vote. So if they had actually done that very well, the register would have been bloated, and this bloated is inverted comma, it's in quotes. It would have actually been bloated by 9,000. Because all those people come up to 9,000, then you add the branch executive. So how can you do that? And come out and say that the register has been bloated, when you left out a chunk of those who are supposed to vote? How can you do that to yourself?
So as of now, regardless of the legal impediment posed by this suit, against the process, the stay on the process in court. The NDC is going full steam ahead, gearing up for Saturday. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so what we are doing is to use the rules of court that allow for such things to happen, where this matter will be heard before Saturday. So we are exploring the use of legal instruments within the confines of the law to ensure that this matter is heard before Saturday. And you know that they have fixed this matter for 15th. 15th is way ahead of Saturday. But we are also trying to see how we can, within the law, ensure that the matter is heard before Saturday.
Antonio is a spokesperson for the Dufour team. He is on the other line. Antonio, you have heard the reaction of the Director of Legal Affairs at the NDC, Abraham Amaliba. What is your reaction to some of what he has said? He is basically saying you got it all wrong, to quote him, and he is also, I mean, clearly the party is calling Team Dufour's bluff. How do you react to that?
Thank you, and good morning to Amaliba. I don't think he's calling the party bluff. The Team Dufour's bluff. I did heard him correctly, but he did not, rubbish the consent rate. He's only talking about processes, and I'm pretty sure as a lawyer, the court is his friend, and anyone that goes to court is not any anti-institution, and I'm happy to hear him say that the party is working towards the court hearing the matter before Saturday. He's never denied or speak to the issue of duplicated photos or the duplicated voters ID or any other. He's just speaking to the bloated issues. But even that, you require that research auditors and can all be satisfied. So I'm happy he did not say we didn't have any concerns. He admitted that we have concerns, but he comes to the table to talk. But I just state that we've written to the party on 2 occasions and never got a response, April 17th and May 2nd. So the issues are what we should be focusing on. And when we are satisfied, we move into the election, the outcome, everybody will be happy with it. So I'm happy with the actions of the party that they are working towards the court hearing the case before Saturday. Dr. Dufour is ready for the election, but whatever it is that needs to be done, he will insist that that is done. That's all.
Right before I take your final comments, both of you, just a quick one, Antonio, just a very quick one. For those who are watching the feed this morning, I've seen some messages dropping through. Fidelis Abelba, together with one Walter Blinks. They both, I do not know whether they are delegates, but they both suggest that by these actions, you are making the base of the party, the grassroots, angry, and that they are going to punish you on primary day. How do you react to that?
Why should the base of the party be angry when what is happening is just due process? They should be excited that due process is happening. So the party did go to court when we're not happy. And that is something that they should be interested in having a credible election and having voters register that everyone who is supposed to vote gets to vote. How would they feel if they go to the polling stations and their names are not in the register? So what is happening now is actually good for the party, good for the NDC, and good for the democracy of this country. So we all should be embracing it and welcoming it.
Antonio, final words as I take Abraham Amaliba's final words as well. I'll start with you, Antonio.
Thank you. The Dufour team is committed to using the party structures. I've given evidence of him using the party structures, and he's just calling for the right thing to be done. The concerns raised in the document sent to the party, identifying the anomalies, need to be addressed. All of us be satisfied, then we move into the election, happy with the outcome that Dr. Dufour is elected leader of the party and subsequently leader of the country.
Thank you, Antonio. Antonio Edem Asinyo is spokesperson for Team Kwabena Dufour. Abraham Amaliba is Director of Legal Affairs at the NDC. Abraham, any final words?
Yes, I'm happy you have read messages from delegates who are livid. I've received calls.
I cannot confirm. I merely suggested that I did not know whether these were delegates, but yes, the suggestion from both of them is that this move is angering the grassroots.
Well, I can confirm to you because I've received
calls from delegates all over the country. My last call came from Sandema, and they are livid. I'm not surprised that those texters are saying that clearly the number of votes that Dr. Kufuor will have garnered will be reduced by this action that he has taken. This is not in the best interest of the party. For you to file a frivolous and a vexatious research as this, just to thwart the effort of the party in its forward march, it's mind-boggling, particularly when it's coming from a very senior member of the party who should have known better.
Abraham Amaliba, we're grateful for your time this morning, sir.
Thank you.
He is Director of Legal Affairs with the NDC. Well, do stay with us. When we return from the break, we're going to be having AM business. Of course, throwing the spotlight one more time on the construction sector. That's a conversation we're yet to have today on the back of all these high-rise buildings that seem to be crumbling to dust. What exactly is happening? All of that after the break. Do stay. Welcome back on the AM show. Not good news. Disaster struck one more time for the fourth time in the space of a week. Now, the Word in Action Church in Old Botiano came down to a rubble. We contemplate that situation as we go on site at Old Botiano to find out what that place looks like now, engage some of the community members, and of course 7 people injured, 1 gravely currently at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. My colleague Bernice Abubedu Lanza is on hand. She's been engaging members of that community. She's there now. Bernice, if you can hear me, what exactly is happening on the ground?
We're told that they're all doing well, but thankfully I've been able to get the gentleman who is a caretaker of the place. He actually tells me that he lives in there. We'll just want to find out more from him about the church, how long it has been in existence, and what exactly happened. He says he's called Father Rowe, and he was a witness to what happened. There are many other people we've spoken to, but he appears to be the best to tell us and give us all the information. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
Right. You live here? Okay, me pacho Matiasi. Ote ha?
Metia.
Na sorry we how long has it been here?
Sorry no, the Word in Action there. If I say 3 years muna ye we.
Na dia ne si enra.
No kware me enra me ni ha, ba me ba beto me free ha Saturday. Eko Eastern region. Nti me ho na me nya call se BBC na si. Be na me tu America buy.
So he tells me that the church has been in existence for about 3 years, just about 3 years, and he says he actually didn't witness it. That's a point of correction that needs to be made. He actually didn't witness it. So I'll be speaking to witnesses, but he is a caretaker of the place. He got a phone call that this had happened. Na me paucho edan na nkasa no, edan na esi ho no, wona na eye hu adwuma.
Edan na de ye engineer wa ye hu adwuma. Engineer me so me part. Me Roger tampons am me part. You know, there also be a free a danase e be pimba bi ewi. Wo san ma chiko bi se obi bibria obeka wrong turn natural. Dia meka no final.
So he's saying that there is an engineer who has been working on the facility and he has been a part of the process since it began. Intino me pacho e dina nkasa no. And I've been told that the edifice itself was complete. I said, sorry, juma bi atwaso na ejuma be na na moye atwaso.
Ne kware ni onyame animuni. Mimi jaha akone de. Edana yesiesu ona de ye wie ye no. Bedrooms na workshop no. So obi ba ha be ye ejuma bi aminim. Because minni was Saturday no. Na me kone de obia ni wa na obeye ho adwuma me ja one of madam for on different a list on na me ne wa ono beto me wa nti me ja me rezi me case man say me ko Eastern region aba nti so obi be ye adwuma bi foforo bi wo dan no ho de a me minim
dan adwuma akoso wo dan no ho ana na mo ye adwuma bi
ya stop be say 4-5 months because you see board on top on wie ye ne de obi ama ha nti e bia na say ebia minim say adwuma bi wo ho ana omo ya na say one on say a dying case sometimes ebi a obehu baby wo ha water closet na wo ho no nsuo ni bi wa bi leaky na da de nti yetumi frank of am back face won say water closet am for use no mo a wo ho a uputu no off crab won say wo ha na leakage na da de wo mti ende yetumi flow promise for na da de na mo be ye hu adwuma apart from that no me hu bibi sa wo.
So this gentleman is telling me that, to the best of his knowledge, there was no work being done. I was asking him about the facility that was being constructed adjoining the main building, and he said there were bedrooms on the top. But for about 5 months, there's been no work done on that. But I didn't most suspended works on the bedrooms.
Oh, it depends. I want to buy no. Say you we see no want to call for my ojai.
I want him was sika fam.
Sika fam. Ojai say a man for na adoye na ye de ye. Asore for na adoye na de ye. Nti say we ye koduru ba bi ni say na ye say sika na ba na emma na sa utimi twen. Me boss utimi twen koduru brebi na ya tan to aso. Sa na tie.
Na enye say e bia omuhu say problem bi abadan no hu nti na mo suspend.
Me say aha na meti. Me fence we na me na me try foundation bi bia wa ha bia me na me ye. Me na my engineer back ono ye say we ni ha me na me ye. For to be
oh, you're a qualified engineer.
Me ye mason. Okay. Mason foreman. Okay. Our company kesim. But you engineer we be drawn a plan. E dey aba. No am dey akwa say plan no draw by and assassin betimi afa sa plan na enti me a part of sa engineer no. Enti no.
Okay, so I was just asking him why the works were suspended. What exactly was the reason? And he says it was due to financial constraints. I wanted to find out if there was any structural defect that was noticed. And he said no. He tells me he did the fencing and everything here in this facility. And so there was no problem with it. We'll be trying to get inside to see if he will grant us access to figure out exactly what happened. And what it is that intino omwano mushemunu. Yes, yet nyame adom ye yi omu free mu no mo ye den wo ho edwuma be no mo ye on say wo say edwuma bia nkoso wo ho a.
Yes, and America say Saturday ni say ni de me free an pa be so bi say wo mo me free abed say and pa be say 9 to 10 no be am I etimi lock me gate and am ja madam for na wono wa ha no me bra na wono wa ha no so see ha bi no say what you say. Nti obi aba be ye bibia minim.
Okay, but sa enkrofo no unimomo.
Yes, minimum.
Dey no mo ye wa ha.
Oh, omo ye mason for a contract. E wodan akese bia dan bi wo ho mu kosi a. Nyankasa won say mason for yenya adwuma ye frefre ye ho. Nti ye wo enya we nko na edan a e bia we mo asi. Nti omo wo na say ye frɛ wo ma e bia adwuma bi wo ha se wo hu na omo akokoye. Nti omo ye mason for minimum. Ena omuso na kan ho bi na yesi chop no enti se onipa na so wo ba ha ebia na working gear ha obefa ebia na bibi wo ha
obe nipa 7 omu nyina ntumi befa working gear sa na
me pesa me kire wo se enye se bia omu nyina nipa 7 befa working gear but ebi wo ha omu kwa omu tumi je omu tusu wo ha because I so nti obi wo adwuma bi ti bia jowulu ise bi ebi ba ha no pai adan wo se ne bag na ha ka be last week oba befa side top no yes side top no yenwie nti omutumi ja na nti omutumi ba beja befa ne ma no won de ko.
All right, so I've been trying to figure out from him if he says to the best of his knowledge there was no work going on, why would 7 people who he says are masons be here? He tells me that because it's a site, they leave their tools, they leave their working gears, and so it's possible that could be the reason they were here. But to the best of his knowledge, they were not doing any work. But since I didn't see and run, when you mark a say someone said I didn't see and I didn't call her since you were not here.
Yes. Maybe do hand run at about 1 o'clock, and I because we Eastern region. Until your friend
and Wednesday Ahmachiwe 1 a.m. and 1 o'clock area.
And I do ya 1 o'clock and be drew her
1 a.m.
1 a.m. Okay. And be drew her. Until me buy and me beside woman baby a 2 warm. Bako crab baba menchano pay. Eti nipa minimum woman minimum no number no mo ben me no. Ma from bisa won bi wo fie mo hospital ya treat wo mo wo fie. Nti afa na ma sori an pay a The person be I may check one of two things and send a follow up because one the hospital no ba me nkyɛn no pay. Ebi aba me nkyɛn ba ko na hu ni ha no. Wa ba me nkyɛn no pay.
So one of the gentlemen who was injured, we've actually seen him around. He says that the injured people, he's been in contact with them, but he's not been able to find out really exactly what they were doing here. And possible say a bit to me,
yeah, but I was say, yeah, ma'am, order. Okay. So what I said, order and I mean to me, say room.
Okay. But wo enti ahana wote. Wo dan wa ha.
Madam, me no work as and the catch say, me fie ni. Ona no so no, me na me wo ho. Ahana mete ya. But 4 years so kra ansa na ye be twa betata we be si dan wa ha. Ahana mete. Enti edan na esi akire no. Won si asisi dan wa akire. Asi ni na
ehon na bedrooms na na
ehon na bedrooms ehon na
eno no de da ho si ho eno de injury
na me kan say me buy anadwo ehon na me kodai.
Okay,
so what you say ti on say burden like this ni there say akoba say bibi betumi say betumi asini sa by ade ba ko a me de awrade ase wo mu say onipa bi amfiri say nipa bi firi mu a ene be ye ohaw kese pa be da ye so ba nyakopa adoma onipa bia ntumi amfiri mu no aseda ne de manya akopom na se edan ni bu se de we nya edan a abu o Ghana ha memahu me wo enego ena edif so be kaya edif buye ntina no so no abrofo no so mu fra broche na be si dan no ba mo ho na collapse here.
So he's telling me that he lives here. He was actually here before the works began on the building, and the buildings you see still standing, the uncompleted ones, were the ones that were being worked on, and so those are the bedrooms that were being worked on. Now, bedrooms and one amuna for one as I sorry on think bedrooms no.
My boss there o see that o ya na say obi bia wo firi ba bia obi a wo ba sorry and na wadru ha wo ho akere wo no o pe ba bia da obi sane ehwe wo na wo ye good a wo me ha dwan obi mo ba bia da o cha say na to be say dan no wo ho ne say obi wo mo ba ba sorry na obi bi ho be kere ne so be dan no wo ho wo nam sanete mi say matra ha me nto hwe da nkofo bebre so tete a mo nto hwe da.
He tells me that the building, the bedrooms were for people who may have been stranded if they come to church and all that. But inti also for Mark Menta, asemi eduneni mateso oni Ghana.
Yeah, me pastor free ha Tuesday. Now we say enka we free ha be Friday because obe kobre bia o frɛ me na me din komo. Eti me wa ha na me twen say obeba. Eti Friday no mante nenka and me bisa na say oko baby and your friend send the fright are ready into one time am mafia so bafia so am mafia me man enti na me pemi go catch me person me na din komo chan say Monday this week no me meko Eastern region enti ono so mantumi na ni sa ankomo no koi enti na we say me dana me de be ko na mantumi ankara say me twa na no so na me ko na me to return back bisa na koy enti osofo na sa na ekoye nti ono no na chi asem ekoye na chi asem he
wanya nte ono wa bon komo sense ni see
oh me boss wate by esen say me no me nya de chatting mu chatting me nya na wonu say ho no so no obefro bi a gise be was o data na de ade no me no chose me duru ha na adwo nti mpete me hu de ekoso de okso bia no ye wo meeting bia e be after that no.
So he says the pastor in charge. So you can see the signage there, the Word in Action Church, pastors Mark and Tina Menta. Actually, and run somewhere 7 p.m. Tuesdays 7 p.m. But I saw him to me also because of what happened, and he's grateful that nobody lost their life because I say Osha Mododo Bayesing. Some meet Sunday and I say Tuesday Mododo Bayesing.
Oh, Nyame say on say I sorry no. I sorry for say what you say. A bit to me abande. I saw the same market.
Ain't mommy rough estimation, maybe I fixed number, maybe I pay 200 and 250 and 100 people.
Oh, and I can say it's the same market.
It is to me, mommy numbers. I
to me my own number because I am a private work. To say so we can say
me person me who say anka. You know, saying nipa dom wa hanka nipa saying probably nanka omube affected if this had happened if people were here.
Well, It depend make us say depend. Sana nipa no ba. But the make not say. Sana nipa no ba no. Sana bianca problem ni wa ha. By the Yakopon say we yen sit my nipa ba ha.
So he's quite hesitant in telling me the number, a rough estimation. It is also for one sorry no. Pastors no more baha.
Omaba nra mi ni ha no me ba no mate so omaba e na bi kra no e ba me betra ha ma de chin anpa be 5:30 e na bi free ha wo hwa ha ya bonse nkonwa sisi ho no mu nya na tra ha ama de chin anopa yi enti no because of say yan tra say enye meeting bi a enti no
So he says he's unable to divulge a lot of information because there hasn't been a proper meeting. He just traveled. He's actually the foreman caretaker of this place, and he's been explaining to us what exactly happened as he was told. But there were some eyewitnesses we'll be speaking to for them to tell us exactly what happened, how they saw it, and the aftermath. So, Father Rob, bibia oha opesa oka ebia membisa wana say we okay. Me pese me to ankomo no so omo hu yen.
Ade ba ko a me kan say jumadi ebisi a aya na ye pentem bu aten dodo. Say ye ba ko say ebia foreman engineer we da bi. Ebia na engineer aya na adwuma na famu die yiye. Ebia na bibi na bae nti etwumi ba ne sa. Nti ye hwehwem ehu ade ko a bae nti a ye peso bododo. I wona we ye say nti ebia so na nti say yenhwe mu hu de wom nti mesere monya abotre de wom bia no ye nyina ye ganafo papa we ye ganani ye nyina ye ganafo de wom bia ye tumi nwane nkoba bia ena nye de nyakopon so obia de wom bia ye behu ja metimi aka kire ma no
okay me nkwansa bibi bisimitri ma mbisa wansa na wako. So he's basically asking that people hold on with the judgment for it to be established what exactly caused this. He says that we're usually in a haste to point our fingers at people, engineers, the foreman, but this is an incident that was not anticipated, and so they need to investigate. And he says this is where they are. They won't run away. They would give us the information as and when they're able to access it. But manyanenti yesi insuo ewo asasina sena etoda eya mo pompe mo twin so ni fiase no so no kra woman is saying
no kra so bisa sa question. When we say a dan kese te se bia efie we krai wo kom edu rain season a wo bon say nsuo ni nam soro enti ye wo well aya connect pipe afa a dan ni nyina big pipes aba home so bi in case said that nsuo bi be fra asase ase na be ko dan no ho a before be dru agriculture drain nsuo no be dru pipe na pass pipe ni inside na baba bia ye say ye pump nsuo no ko out sa na ete
free nsuo efam
say sisi ya wo kwa dan foforo ya sisi ya wo no nsuo twa bonti nsuo ne nam ho etimi mfa nko hye nsuo say nsuo no na cause this damage but the American atemase nsuo na cause the bibi say sia e wo say yanya botan ye hwehwe mu yi
nti ya mo pompe nsuo free ha mo de machine pompe nsuo free asase
pula me da form dada e da form one wade na wo ho no pula ne da form dada nti
which is the round signal now.
Babia wonam pipe da how deep about 4 feet down. Okay. Say enso bi e be pass out from the fence wall aba dan na sibia no pipe no fence so nfamre ne ye pumping out. Ti minim say adwuma na ye no e ye correct bibia de na akwam by or how de e be ba e bia no ne bre e na afibia so ne mu nsem.
All right, so I just wanted to find out from him because I had heard that occasionally they pump water out of the building. I just wanted to ascertain the truth behind that. He says that there are big agricultural pipes, drains under the building, a higher waterlogged area. In Suotase. Okay, so there's a waterlogged area. Okay.
Once I done yes we. The moment I done do one be see so no anam excavate my ase no even company crash an ye no wo pipe was here nsuo bia be se be from be pass through of the pipe.
All right. Now, so he says it's not a waterlogged area, it's just a system they created to pump water out just in case water collects in the area. In a weekly na moya na say
No, and you weekly. Yaya to order that. Inti say in tema yo baby and so ni dru bia pump and be pumping zone out. Say pumping that form and say so ni cover pump and kwanda pumping pumping zone.
Inti in so ni na collect into the well. Inti a dru baby and then it pumps it out at a certain level. Okay. Me that say Father Rose say oni kasa. So let me just speak to those who witnessed the actual incident. This is a gentleman who takes care of the place, so it was just important to speak to him, understand how the building was being constructed, what exactly the adjoining facilities were. So this is almost like an Okada station of a sort, and I'm here to find out from the gentleman what exactly happened. Good morning. Minga. Okay, so I'm just trying to pull up the little guy. I have to have an interaction. What did you see? Miniona, what happened?
Nini nadi what was introduce him no minake chumbashi ebashi no at the spot.
So he said all they realized that down and it appeared it was coming all of a sudden it just let loose. Tomo, how many minutes are low seconds?
Oh, Tomo 10 to 30 seconds. No, I say 20 seconds. No.
Many amen tuning a jay. What were they doing? Mini ona keshi amen fee.
Oh, amen fee tortoise, Yajame. In Tranka workers in amen fee tortoise, then I'm not ruling and can find you or Mokobe penny near Kunka Bay in Leno. Let him know what Mutaka walk blale, walk drug near. Bulala to almost 30 minutes. Then we'll find it. We don't want Blala can no. We don't want Blala can no. We don't want Blala can no because it's a quay later. Well, okay, Blan in the near Bla. The Benuco, a bet saved don't walk Jula. That they can be a new.
7, but 6, they were not in the building. They were in the other place. So he's saying that there was only one person who was in the main building, which we've seen has collapsed, and it took them about 30 minutes to pull that person out. He said at the point the person was crying, there was no energy, there was no strength. They kept pulling out the person and pouring water on him, pulling out the person, pouring water on him until they were able to safely evacuate the person. This is where you are, right? He works here. How many people are here? Some more.
Oh, I mean, almost 200.
So he gives a rough estimation of about 200 people, including the children. Inke foreman inke lewie. Ameke nu yebie ni ame pompio minona
bina ajesisi lente na ma nu eba na water machine bina ma be nu eba na a pump no ke ba out bina he o anokwale aka contractor na yuele jeni he nu yesipon lente be fa no ne na fa ji ni ko ne he fa ni o underground bina no te sipon e ke ma cha ke fa fe ikuo onu sisi o bina me fi ebe nu nje sipon kemba bina me fi nu nje sipon kemba.
So he's saying that so this is if you know this area very well, the sea is quite farther, but the lagoon is just on the other side of the street. Yeah, just on the other side of the street, and then the church building is here. So his suspicion is that, the water there may find its way at the underground level into the building. Inti nearby meaning fe. I mean, ni building a bashie meaning fe.
Leg beshi odum no beshi wo rush keteje ake mekume yeje men wo banye wo wale fi wo banye oke wa men no what in wa na neke moni ekun egbe no wo dura ni wo gbula le kejeje men wo jile duji ni nka ke se kula.
When you brought him out, what were the level of injuries? Like yito alo mini
gbojin fen ekun egbe keje he no wo gbe na egboji ekumo kan ni ka boju e be na ke akele se theater bia na.
So he's saying that the building fell on the lower part of his body from his waist downwards, and so he understand, or he's been told that he's been taken into theater now, and Kolebu, hello. Okay, so he understands that that person is undergoing surgery as we speak currently. And since ni eba ona police alo nadmo alo
10 minutes to 40 minutes then the police fui ke machira ke fire service ke machira ke soldiers ke ne ke sia fui then ambajepo no me already egbomo wo jilo mbo wa jilo wo gbena dan ambajepo e bi ene ntomo 30 minutes time wa me stop mukoni mukunku aka ya jeme adani mo ekule muko ba kono ko jeme alo muko ba tando ko hi at the same time let us we le ba jepo e bi ene aka nkisi ke power here oni na disconnect in let us be le ba bi ene ne.
So he says that it took about 40 minutes for the police, CID, soldiers, NADMO officials to come in here. The fire service was also here trying to activate their rescue efforts. Kemini. Okay, the ECG was also here, and so they were all here. It took them about 40 minutes, but at the time they came, they had already pulled the trapped person out of the building. Mini Jogbe.
Emmanuel Norte Hobson.
All right. So this is Emmanuel Norte Hobson who works here, and he's been talking to us. There's another lady who sells just opposite the church. Let me find out from her also what she witnessed and her understanding of the incident. Good morning, ma. Oh, fine. She's preparing her meal. Well, fine. Let me just steal a few minutes of your time. Oh, fine. Okay, so I have to switch to Chi now. Me patro, Ediana uhuye.
Mpacho ndra no pano be 9:something to 10 ye wo hasa na adwumayefo bi baaye ye ni mo munti na edi omu didi nkomo na ye ni omu sesire na omu si omu tamaso omu pese omu ko inside ko ye adwuma nti ye wo hasa omu re mu nti egusu a ye nyama sa me chi bayre wa diasco janshi ye wo ha egusu a ye nyama sa na ehu se ba ko shouti mumpie gidi na ye twa ye chi na ye si na den na ekoso echa ye chi ni ehwe no na asori dan no glasses no astarte kasa pak kasa de papa ni ade at sports na ehwe na che say dust na jihafa ye hu obia anti start say ye mponi enim say dust ba de ni the way e ba no say ye nyina ye pe baby fa ye dwane ye omo be hwifom me kura me jam me kase kura me te hwe ye nti time yesan ye chi say yesan we no ko fom na yesan ba no na che say dan no ko fom slowly dan na nko fom say dan ye gbugbulu ma na say a spread ba nyame ncha de egu baby boko ndra na esi no Okay,
so this is Mami Esi. She fries and sells yam at the Ajasco Junction, just opposite the main gates of the church. And she's telling me what happened around 9 a.m. yesterday. She says the workers came in, they know them, they had a chit-chat. They said they were going to do their work. And all they heard was someone screaming, asking them to come out. And then she says the glasses started shattering. There was a loud noise, there was shattering of glasses, and so all they saw was dust. She said at the time they couldn't even determine what it was, and so they started fleeing. She actually fell. I hope so you're okay. All right, she didn't get injured from the fall. And then when the dust settled, they came back, and then they started trying to figure out if anybody was injured and needed help. But ahana wo me hu se asore ha manya nti ese ya nkola ba ha pa mu che aduane ma nkola ase ehia omo ne ade den na obetumi aka fa ho.
Oh, asore ha de me nkwa asore wa ha ba me sin se ne amekwa asore because me ni omo wa ha fiti Monday to Sunday na enkwara ba ha Saturdays omo ye feeding program kwala ba ha Saturdays enkwara ba ha Saturdays omo feed omo nyese omo ehia omo nkwa ya mfani sa obia to me enter Saturdays bia nkwala ba ha ma ye feed omo fine I just say I had ye nika programs course to be brave. Me cry my imagine say me join you.
She says she doesn't fellowship with this church, but her knowledge of it is more than a church member. So you can see the signage there. Let's feed our children. Church premises every Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's what she was just telling us about, and that this is a church that organizes this feeding program for kids. Anybody can walk in to eat, and they organize programs a lot. And so this may be quite a blow to the children, but I heard the foreman hinting that this will not stop them from continuing with their feeding program. And so that's it from Mamiesi here at the Ajasco Junction in Botiano, where we are to get more information about that church collapse. The church is the Word in Action Church, and we understand that the pastor Mark Minta is not in the country currently, but leadership of the church have been here. They have been examining or assessing the situation. We are told that the fire service, those responsible, have also come in, so there will be some investigation to ascertain what exactly caused the problem. But this is what we are able to gather from eyewitnesses, from those who have also been a part of the building since construction started. And thankfully, the relief for all the people we've spoken to is that there have been no deaths recorded, and so they are grateful to God for that. So, Benjamin, that's it from the Ajasco Junction in Botiano, the Word in Action Church, which collapsed in the morning yesterday. We definitely will be keeping our eyes on this situation, following up on those who've been injured as well, one who's been rushed into theatre. So, from the Ajasco Junction in Botiano, I'm Bernice Abubedulansa.
Welcome back on the AM show. Of course, even as we gear up for May the 13th and the NDC's primaries, we're getting to the end of the show. But you do know water is life, right? And that's why I'm proffering for you Awake Purified Drinking Water. It is, of course, purified drinking water, and they have the perfect sizes for all: 330 and 500 ml bottles, 750 milliliters, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more, like yours truly. So if you'd like to grab some water, think of Awake Purified Drinking Water. If you're thinking of something suitable for your office or your home, you might want to consider their 19-liter jar bottles, ideal for such situations. Also note that for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. That is indeed heartwarming. It's another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. If you'd like to purchase in bulk,